up to the last second. How's it sounding?
I think it's all right.
Okay, we got through most of the strings. I think we've got maybe like the top E.
You mind if I do a D real quick?
Yeah, well, let's have a little listen. Give us a D. How's it looking?
It's a little sharp.
Ah, a little sharp. I love those tuning apps, though. The first time anybody used one was a session drummer who was I think he was using it as a click track, and he kept looking at his phone, and I thought, it's like taking text messages when he's playing on a live session for Tom Jones or someone. How rude.
Yeah.
Then I realised that you can just have it in your phone now. It's amazing.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good what you can get with the phone.
And handy when you're travelling, because you're on a whirlwind tour at the moment, talking about the new record. Did you say 7 different countries in 8 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you feeling?
Pretty
discombobulated.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good word. Well, listen, welcome. Thank you very much for stopping by and seeing us here, of course, in support of the new album, Banks, which, as the title suggests, is, in your own name. You have left Julian Plenty behind you. Why did you decide to put it out under your name?
Because I just decided to be have this release be a little bit more simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question is more, why did I do my first one with an alter ego?
Yeah, why?
Because the first one was sort of like a retrospective of work I'd done in the late 90s and early 2000s, and the songs that were on it that were from that era I had been playing out back then as Julian Plenty, and so that was sort of the artist name for that batch of songs, and that batch of songs is what kind of nagged at me to make the record. And so when I kind of finally got around to doing it, it just felt that was the appropriate way to do it. And I also sort of wanted to try and create the circumstances of being a debut artist and letting a record be discovered by people rather than just sort of, pushing it in people's faces.
Yeah, and I guess when you've got kind of an inherited audience and, sort of...
And I didn't really want to exploit that in that way. I kind of wanted to let them go to it if they felt, like doing so.
Okay, and you've said that on this album, that the lyrics are quite direct as well. There's a kind of, a directness about it. I think there was a quote I read which was like, in some places it was like therapeutic to have a vent on some of the songs.
Yeah, some of the songs, but I mean, it's always therapeutic, I think, to sing. I think on this record there's a few songs where the sort of use of the first person is me, like Over My Shoulder and Young Again, which I think I'm going to play. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it's a character, which is sort of what I've always done. So in the bass, it's kind of another perspective, but I use the first person, for instance. And there's a song called I'll Sue You, and that's also me inhabiting a character who's, like a covetous...
Do you like to kind of keep it, get people guessing about whether you're being you in songs?
Yeah,
or,
I don't even really think it's that important to clarify. I kind of feel like my experience, your experience, it's all kind of the same. So it's sort of, I really do look at those pronouns as being interchangeable. But sometimes I guess I'm being more earnest than others, and on this record there's a few of those moments. Okay,
well, we're really excited to hear it. It doesn't hit the shelves here in the UK until the 22nd of October, but I think you're going to give us a foretaste now with the new single, is that right?
My impression was that I was going to be giving you a Velvet Underground song right now.
Great, okay, well that's fabulous.
Then I thought I was doing the single after.
Since you're here, Paul, do you know what? You can do whatever you like.
You tell me. I can do the single for you now if you like.
Cover some Velvets for me. Cover me some Velvets. I could do it today, that's great.
Yeah?
Okay, yeah. Tell me about the song you're going to play me.
This is Stephanie Says, which is it's not easy to pick which Velvet Underground song to cover, but this one just kind of suited me, and I felt like it wasn't quite as famous and obvious as some of the other choices I could have made. But I was really tempted to play the obvious ones, but this one is maybe a little more interesting.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. Paul Banks playing live for us on BBC6 Music.
Stephanie says that she wants to know why she's given half her life to people she hates now. Stephanie says, when answering the phone, what country shall I say is calling from across the world? But she's not afraid to die. People all call her Alaska. It's so cold in Alaska. It's all in her mind. It's all in her mind. is, though she's the door, she can't be the moon. Stephanie says, but doesn't hang up the phone. What seashell sea is calling from across the world? But she's not afraid to die. People all call her Alaska. Between worlds, yeah, the people ask her. It's all in her mind. So it's all in her mind. They're asking, is it good or bad? It's such an icy feeling. It's so cold in Alaska. It's so cold in Alaska. It's so cold in Alaska.
Paul Banks covering the Velvets for us, and Stephanie says. So, Paul, I mean, were they an important band to you growing up? Because I know that you made the move to New York to go to university, is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, were you kind of, had you grown up on the Velvet Underground, and did you expect to find the city that you hear in the songs?
I mean, I had grown up on the Velvet Underground before I moved to New York, yeah. But I guess I didn't know, historically, I didn't know the, relationship with Warhol all that well. I was sort of just consumed with the music and not so much the context.
Okay. But, I mean, it must have been an exciting city to get to as a young kid.
That's why I went. Yeah, that's why I went. I think college was kind of secondary. It was sort of, I needed the excuse to be there.
Yeah. And you moved around a lot, because I know that I didn't realise that you were born in the UK until recently. So you kind of moved around a bit growing up. That must be quite good training to end up being a musician, because it's quite an itinerant life. I mean, you spend a lot of time touring and stuff.
Yeah. I think it helps in a lot of ways when you have an experience of different cultures. I think it just sort of broadens your horizons as a person.
Okay. Have the people of Essex kind of reclaimed you, and gone, hey, born here, one of ours?
No, because it's a bit, I guess I'm probably more American, because as soon as I open my mouth, I don't think anyone in Essex would say, like, yeah, he's one of us. They'd say that's a Yank.
But I wonder if, but they find out. That's the thing. I mean,
right. I mean, I'm proud of it, but I have no idea how they feel about it.
I'm sure they're thrilled. So tell me about making the new record, because, you said that there's a directness to it, that in some senses it was kind of therapeutic, and that there was an elective kind of feeling to it, that you decided, right, I'm ready to do this now. How did you approach it, the recording process? Where did you do it?
Recorded with Peter Cadis, who he mixed my first solo record, and he recorded Interpol's first two records.
Right.
Just got a really good working relationship with him. I like him as a dude, and I like working two records consecutively with the same person, because I feel like you can kind of build from where you left off, and that the second record benefits from that shared experience. I wrote most of the record on the road on my laptop,
right.
and then I came back and I had all these detailed demo blueprints in my computer, and I went to the studio and redid all of them with Peter.
It sounds like you've got quite a precise approach.
I do, only because especially when you're working alone, for expedience sake, you better know what you're doing when you get to the studio, because it ain't cheap, and it's I don't know, it's easy to get it all ready before you head there, especially just with what you can do with a laptop now. I mean, I'm not really good enough in my laptop to do something that I would release as a final product, but I can definitely get all the ideas down.
You can get your blueprint together, as you say. And what about the differences between, working with a band and working solo? Do you like the feeling of kind of being able to call all the shots and actually, plan, like you say, in that level of detail?
It's definitely fulfilling, I think, when you can just do whatever you want, and sometimes it allows you to do things that are a little bit more wacky, and, things that I wouldn't necessarily want a band or my band to do.
Okay.
And I think they're very separate things. I think bands have magic because of the different energies of the different members and their personalities kind of clashing and things coalescing or whatever. But when you work alone, it's just got that fulfilling aspect of being able to do whatever you want.
And I like the use of the adjective wacky. Is there any of that on the new record?
Yeah. there's definitely wacky. I mean, I like using samples and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've been talking so much about the record, but I realized there's some samples that I put in songs that, you know, I wouldn't, were at Interpol, I wouldn't even suggest it because it's like, you know, I've got a guy from a taxi cab that I have in one song, and it just felt so right for me to do that. But if someone in the band said, hey, we just spent all the time writing the song and you want to, you know, put some guy from the taxi talking in the middle of our song, you know, I would probably agree if they felt that that was not a good idea. But
Yeah.
in my song, where it's only got to go through my mind and say, like, I want to do that, okay, I'm going to do that. There's a freedom to it. And that's what I mean by wacky, just sort of off-the-cuff ideas. I can just do them.
Totally.